Hello everybody! So we have come to the end of 2016 and this was the first year that I've been doing this as a YouTube channel, and let me just start by saying thank you so much to everyone who's been supporting my channel, to everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's been chatting to me about movies. I've made some great new friends along the way, you all know who you are, and really it has been so much fun doing this, and not only that, it's given me an opportunity to go and see a lot of movies. So I've come to my list now of my 10 most favorite movies of 2016. And another thing I just want to clarify is that I didn't get to see as many movies as I would have liked to. I mean, I saw close to 60 movies, I think, all up, but there were a few that I didn't get around to seeing. Because let's face it, it's kind of expensive going to the movies these days, and even though I did have a little bit of help from Universal and Sony, Karen, if you're watching, thank you so much. Yeah, I just didn't get around to seeing everything, so this list is based on the movies that I did see. Keep in mind, this isn't necessarily a list of the highest rated movies. I mean, you know, sometimes you get a movie that could be like a 10 out of 10, but it might not be the sort of movie that you keep rewatching over and over again. So I'm not so much taking into account here the grading that I gave movies. They're more just movies that just meant something to me personally and that I would keep going back to, that I'd recommend to a wide bunch of people, that kind of stuff. So, without further ado, here are my honorable mentions, because there were a bunch of movies that just didn't quite make the cut. So I'm going to give these ones an honorable mention, starting with So Hacksaw Ridge, oh man, it blew my expectations out of the water. Not that I really had any, because going into it, I hadn't seen a trailer or anything, and I absolutely loved the movie. It was one of the best war films I've ever seen, and not only that, a really inspirational story about a guy who, you know, we wouldn't have known about if it weren't for this film. So that one I absolutely loved. Don't Breathe, my god, that was just a lesson in how to make a movie built on suspense. It was so freaking white knuckle. That movie I absolutely loved. I cannot wait to see it again, and yeah, highly recommended for anyone who loves suspense thrillers. Deepwater Horizon was one of these movies that just reminded me so much of the glory days of disaster movies, like back in the 90s, you know, things like Twister, Deep Impact, Dante's Peak, all those kind of flicks. It just kind of reminded me of that, but at the same time it was a true story, and that just made it a really amazing flick. I absolutely dug it. Who would have ever thought that a first movie could be so bad and yet its sequel could be so amazingly good? Ouija Origin of Evil, oh man, that was a real surprise. I think everybody was just amazed and shocked at how good it was. And yeah, that is definitely one of the best horror films that came out of 2016. Now, Lights Out actually was in my top 10 list to start with until something else came along and something had to go. So look, I picked Lights Out, which was a shame because it was such a great, fun horror movie. It reminded me of the old stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street and, you know, the fun horror movies. And not only that, the characters were so brilliantly written. It was one of these movies that actually had people that you could get behind and that were sympathetic to the audience. And look, I really dug Lights Out. It was a lot of fun. Which brings us to the top 10. Alright, so here we go. My top 10 most favorite movies of 2016, starting with Zootopia was one of these animated movies that transcended just being a kiddie flick. It had a lot of adult kind of themes to it, such as tolerance and equality, drug use, that kind of stuff. But it also, you know, I mean, God, it had cute, fluffy animals in it and stuff as well. And it was a gorgeous looking movie. I had a lot of fun with Zootopia. The Jungle Book was a massive surprise. That was my first 10 out of 10 for 2016, and I did not expect it was going to get such a high grade. It was an absolute masterpiece. Not only the performance from the kid, but, technically, I mean, pretty much the entire movie was CG. It was all shot on a green screen, but you would never know. And that movie set the bar for realism in animal CG, hair textures, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, Jungle Book was such a pleasant surprise. It kind of bugs me that a Star Wars movie came out and I'm not putting it closer to number one or at number one. Look, I am one of those die-hard Star Wars fans who I worship anything to do with the franchise. But look, it was a great Star Wars flick, but, for me, the characters just didn't cut it. I didn't really feel any emotional connection to them, and so that let it down a bit. Having said that, though, wow, it had some of the best action sequences we've seen in a Star Wars film. The end battle alone was just amazing, and it was really cool to see, just a bit of backstory behind A New Hope, and it kind of changed the way that I look at A New Hope now, which I didn't think could ever happen. But, so aside from the characters, look, I really loved Rogue One. Doctor Strange! I am really surprised that I haven't seen this movie popping up on many top 10 movies of 2016 lists from other reviewers. It was so much fun. I really thought that this was just behind Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of entertaining Marvel films. I loved the character, I loved the story, everything about it. Just the magic, the effects, everything. It was such an entertaining film, and I really loved it. Now, I know this movie didn't really impress a lot of people, but look, I loved Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. I thought it was the funniest movie of last year, hands down. I just watched it again the other night on New Year's Eve, actually, with my girlfriend. She hadn't seen it, and it's still hilarious and just consistently funny the whole way through. I loved the performances, I loved the characters, I loved the dynamic between everyone, how you had like two pairs of people coming together, and look, it was one of those movies I can watch again and again till the day I die and still get a great laugh over. Captain America Civil War. Holy crap, that was a big movie, wasn't it? So, aside from the bleakness of having, the two teams of good guys divided over an issue, which I thought was a great idea, we got our first glimpse of Spider-Man, and he was the best Spider-Man we've seen on screen yet, in my opinion. It's great that we've actually got a kid playing him now. Not only that, the airport scene, that is still, as far as I'm concerned, the best action sequence of 2016. My God. It was not only the stunt work and the choreography and all that sort of stuff, but it was just so entertaining. I loved that it was so funny. And yeah, I really dug Captain America Civil War. Deadpool! Now, I haven't actually done a review of Deadpool because I started doing my channel shortly after that movie came out. So I'm going to do a review of it pretty soon, but look, oh wow, that was something different. Let's face it, a lot of superhero movies that come out these days, they're not the same as each other, but they kind of follow a formula, whereas this one just broke the mold entirely. From the opening credit sequence, which was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was definitely the most entertaining opening credit sequence of all time. I loved the meta humor. I loved how it was so self-referential and, you know, referring to all these elements of pop culture and stuff that pertain to the movie. It was so entertaining, so much fun, had some amazing stunt work and fight sequences, and yeah, I absolutely loved Deadpool. From the first time I saw the trailer for Kubo and the Two Strings, I knew this was going to be something that would really appeal to me, and my god, did it ever. This was just one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. It was a fantastic example of storytelling done right. And not only that, I mean, the technical mastery that went into this film, it took 5 years to make, being a stop-motion animated film, and I just applaud them for that alone. But yeah, what it turned out to be was just not only one of the best movies of 2016, but I think it's going to go down as one of my most favorite movies of all time. I absolutely adored it. The Nice Guys. Who expected that? This movie came out of nowhere. It was, I guess, kind of a small release, but oh man, it was so impressive on every level. We had an original story in a year that was full of sequels and reboots and re-sequel hash boot things. It was a great story with fantastic performances. The chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe was amazing, and Angourie Rice as Ryan Gosling's daughter was hands down the best child performance of last year, if not the last decade. She was so damn good. And everything from the directing to the production design, you know, the way that they recreated LA in the late 70s, it looked perfect. This film I couldn't fault. I spent like 2 days after I saw it trying to find things that I thought was wrong with it, but in the end I had to give it a 10 out of 10 because it was just that good. And I really encourage anyone who likes a good, I wouldn't really say it was a noir movie. I mean, it was a comedy. It was way too funny to be a noir film, but it was a good detective story. If you like those kind of flicks, definitely check out The Nice Guys. And The Nice Guys was actually my #1 movie when I first did my list up, until I went and saw this. Now, I realize I only saw this movie yesterday, and I know that quite often, you know, you got to spend a few days processing a movie, sinking it in, but I honestly knew while I was watching this flick that this was something special. To me, it just, you know, this movie, it spoke to me on such a personal level, being that it was a movie about people who have a dream and are trying to reach that dream. I mean, for me, as a filmmaker who hasn't made it yet, you know, I really felt something, a connection with these characters, and oh man, it just blew my mind. It was such an enjoyable film. It was one of these movies that was more of an experience at the cinema than just going to watch a movie. And I loved it so much, I have even made this image my phone wallpaper thingamajig, because I just can't stop thinking about it. It was so damn good. It was a beautiful, beautiful movie. It was a great story. The performances were perfect. The casting was on point. The chemistry between the two leads was like nothing I'd seen in all of last year, and La La Land is definitely my #1 most favorite movie of 2016. So there you have it. Those are my 10 most favorite movies of 2016, and once again, thanks everybody for supporting my channel. It really means a lot to me. I'm really looking forward to growing my channel this year, and I don't know, just hopefully making it informative and entertaining, and just, you know, let's just have a good time. So what were your favorite movies of 2016? I'd really love to know. Drop me some comments either here or on Facebook. All my social media links are in the description below. And very soon I will have my list of my 10 least favorite movies of 2016, because yeah, there were some pretty bad ones in amongst that lot. So thank you very much for watching my video. Let me know what you think, because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. I'll see you soon.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.